Hey guys, LootWizard here with another video on Gems of War, and yes, it is that time of week again. The game is reset. We have a new week, new event, we have new stuff in a Soulforge, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at all of that good stuff. Let's go to the Soulforge first, as always. Check out the weapons. Staff of the Other Worlds is a weapon for this event and the raid boss, so I would get it over there with the gems instead. It's one of these mana generating types of weapons. Nothing too amazing here in the weapons this week. We do have the Doomed Cauldron, but as a doomed weapon, these ones aren't really that good. It gives life to all allies. If you have one of these weapons, that's probably all you need. I rarely ever use these kinds of weapons. The best Doom weapon is the one that does damage, spell damage to all enemies, and then it does create Doom Skulls. Then you have the Grasping Grimoire here. And this one is for Mystic allies, creating mana for those. If you want to collect it, go ahead. Otherwise, I would pass on this one because we don't have, as far as I can remember, we don't have a lot of strong Mystic allies yet. So, I don't know. I would just pass on that. Nothing really amazing here. Going to the troops and going through our summoning stones here. For Blue Day, Dwarven Gate's good, but everyone has Dwarven Gate already. You can get those in gold keys. Silver Oak is okay, but I wouldn't waste any jewels on trying to get it. It will enchant and bless an ally. For green summoning stones, we have Tracker. Most everybody probably already has this, but just to give a little information about it, it has the potential to do some massive skull damage. For very little investment in traits. So the very first trait says it will place Hunter's Mark on enemies when doing skull damage. Hunter's Mark will double the skull damage. So for me here, my attack damage is 42. If I put this troop at the top of my team and I do a skull match with it, it will do double that. So it'll do 84 damage. And it also has a 50% chance to ignore armor with skull damage. So it has that extra potential to do even more damage. So yeah, it's a pretty good troop there. Red summoning stones, nothing here that I would go for. For yellow, same thing, nothing there. For purple, now in Purple Day we have Greed. So Greed is one of the best troops for gold teams. And if you don't have this thing ascended to Mythic yet, now would probably be a good time to try to do that. Because if it's ascended to Mythic, its life is going to be higher, and it will gain gold equal to its life. So that's in purple. Let's go to brown. Yep, nothing really here in brown either. So moving on to legendaries and mythics. We have the Audible Imp, which I don't actually have. There's two imps I don't have yet, the Autumnal Imp and the Winter Imp. So I'm probably going to go ahead and craft one of these guys, just because these imps are kind of hard to get, at least for me. This thing does scatter damage. It'll destroy 10 gems. If an enemy dies, gain 8 magic. If you unlock all of its traits, it gains 8 magic when you match brown gems. All these imps pretty much do that for its own color. But this one in particular will be pretty good, I think, with something like Mountain Crusher, since you're going to be matching a lot of brown gems, and it will continue to increase that magic. So I'm gonna craft it this week, just because I'm trying to collect all the cards in the game. But if you're someone still that doesn't have some of the best mythics in the game, some of those mythics like High King Iron Gut, Pharaoh's Ra, Tina 9000, Obsidious, and Infernus. If you don't have a bunch of those mythic troops, don't even mess around with trying to craft the Imp and really any legendary cards. I would save up your diamonds to 4,000 and craft one of those great mythics first. So for other legendaries, we have Hindal Frostcrown, we have Captain Macaw, and Sir Quentin Hadley. Now, I don't recommend crafting any legendaries because it's always better value to save up your diamonds and craft mythic troops. But just to kind of give my opinion here on these legendary cards, Captain Macaw is really weird. It does lethal damage to enemies that are submerged, but there's no way for us to submerge enemies, so it's really kind of weird to use it. Sir Quentin Hadley is one of the better legendaries in the game. It's one of those legendaries that converts gems to a color and then on different colored gems to skulls. It also does a little bit of spell damage, and it allows knight allies to start with 50% mana, so that's cool. Hindel Frostcrown's a pretty good legendary troop, but I wouldn't spend diamonds crafting that either. Now taking a look at some of these mythic troops, we have Yasamine's Chosen. And Yasamine's Chosen is one of those mythic troops that's kind of average, or sometimes even, I don't know. It's kind of a hard mythic for me to rate because it has looping potential because it creates 10 green gems and it has a green mana color, but its damage just isn't really that good. It does 50 or so scatter damage. It's boosted by entangled enemies. The boost ratio is 10, so it'll add an extra 10 damage for every enemy entangled, but it can only entangle 4 enemies because entangling does not stack. So you're going to get an extra 40 damage out of it, potentially, which for me it would be about 90 total scatter damage. And it's not true scatter damage, it's just scatter damage. So we're going to be, if there's a lot of armor, it's going to have to eat through that before it gets to life. So it's just, it has some looping potential, but it doesn't really have the potential to do a lot of damage. Now, Entangle, one of the better things about it, and one of the reasons why you do see it in teams from time to time, is the Entangle a random enemy when matching green gems down here. The last trait is what really makes it a little bit special, because if you're matching a lot of green gems, you will be able to entangle a lot of those enemies. So it's really a good troop to counter those skull conversion teams because of Entangle. But yeah, it's kind of like average, below average mythic troop. Then we have Vash Dagon. Vash Dagon is below average for a mythic troop. I really think it could be a lot better than it is, but for some reason, the developers did not want this troop to be good. So what do I mean by it could be way better? Well, first of all, the boost ratio is 3 to 1. It's a third of its life. And that could be way better if it was 2 to 1 or 1 to 1. It would make the troop still a little awkward, but it would make it at least competitive with some of the better mythics in the game. Now, its ability is weird. It devours an ally, then it summons a demon if the ally is devoured. It deals true scatter damage boosted by its life, and that's where that boost ratio comes in. Now, a troop can only have 1,000 life in the game, and it takes a while to get life up that high. You have to have support troops, you have to have ways to increase its life that high, which is in itself a little bit awkward. It slows down the battle when you're trying to do that. But that's what its damage is based off of, is its own life. So in order to increase its damage, you have to increase its life. And then on top of that, its boost ratio is only a third. So that means that out of 1,000 life, it's only going to do, if you do get it to 1,000 life, it's only going to do 300 extra true scatter damage. And that will be distributed amongst all surviving enemy troops. So if you still have 4 enemy troops alive, that 300 true scatter damage probably won't kill them all, even if you do get that to the maximum of 100. So that's where Vash Dagon is just kind of weird. Now, if it had a 1-to-1 boost ratio, then it would be it probably still wouldn't get into the top 10 of mythic troops, but at least it would be maybe in the top 20. It would give it a fighting chance. Right now, it's like way towards the bottom. It's close to like an F tier mythic for me, even though it does have some potential. Now, one of the main reasons why someone might throw it into a team is for its curse. This is one of the things that makes this troop a little bit useful. It keeps it out of the F tier, in my opinion, is the fact that it curses a random enemy when matching brown gems. So you can imagine if you use this troop with Mountain Crusher, there's going to be a lot of curse going around. And curse is great because there are certain troops that are immune to devour. There's troops that are immune to poison. And when an enemy troop is cursed, it will ignore any of those traits. So you will be able to devour a troop that's cursed with Kai King Iron Gut if it's immune to devour, as long as it's cursed. So this right here does make this troop somewhat useful, but I just wish that its damage ability scaled better. I wish it was at the very least half of its life, not a third. It's just that really does make me sad that they didn't consider the boost ratio there and its damage potential. So then we have Shabanu Vespera. Shabanu is a pretty interesting troop. It doesn't make every team better, so it's definitely not an S tier troop. It's not an A tier troop in my opinion. It's definitely not an F tier either. So it's kind of weird to place this one because it's situational. You kind of have to have a team that is almost an entirely one color out of these three. So if you have a whole blue team and put this in there, purple or yellow team, and you put this in with that, once this troop gets powered up, then mana just gets generated almost for everything, every single turn, every time you cast it. It gives 12 to a random skill on an ally. It creates 9 gems that are mana color. Then it repeats 2 more times for random allies. And that right there is why I was saying that you want a team that uses all of one of these 3 colors to make this troop really that good. So with that being said, it's still a useful mythic troop, but it's very situational. So it's, man, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to place these. Queen of Sin. This is another one that's kind of just average or below average. Has a low mana cost, which I do like, but it does true damage to the first 2 enemies. It summons Wrath or Lust, then it blesses all demon allies. Now, Wrath is good. It's one of the better legendary troops in the game. So for that alone, it has the potential to summon that. It keeps it out of like really low tier ranking, but at the same time, I kind of wish that the true damage that it does would be to the 2 last enemies, because that would make this troop go really well with other troops like Arachnean Weaver that does true damage to the last 2 enemies, and then you also have weapons like Life and Death, which does true damage to the last 2 enemies. So this is kind of weird that it's doing it to the first 2 enemies, and there's not a lot that really syncs with that. But summoning Wrath or Lust is good. As far as its traits, enemies lose 4 from a random skill point when an ally casts a spell. So I haven't really noticed how useful that really is. Would I craft it? Only if I'm trying to collect mythic troops and I already have like all of like the top 10 mythics out there. If you already have all of those and then some, maybe you might want to pick it up. But in this list, in this list, I probably would go with, honestly, I think I would say Vespera is better, the number 1 in my opinion to craft this week. And then Yasemin's Chosen is number 2. Yasemin's Chosen, it, like I said, it has looping potential, but the damage potential on it really isn't really fantastic. But yeah, I would say Vespera is 1, Yasemin's Chosen is 2. They're pretty close in my opinion to ranking them, but I think Vespera just has more potential than Yasemin's Chosen. So those are the number 2 there. And then after that, Queen of Sin would be my 3rd choice, and then Vash Dagon would be my 4th choice. So that's pretty much how I would go in the order of crafting those mythic troops. So that's it for the Soulforge. Let's go to the shop, get ourselves the new troop, see if I can remember where all this stuff is now that they switched things around. I think it's in weekly event. Yes, it is. Finally learning their new system. They split up those things. So here's the new troop. It's the Nether Hound. It deals 30 damage to the first enemy and hunters marks them. It creates 8 to 12 purple gems. So it is a kind of a mana generator here. It does start with 50% mana. So might be useful. We'll see. Might be useful for this event too. It depends on how many mana generators we have for this event. Alright, so let's go to the raid boss. And one thing here too to take note of is in 4 days from now, sieges are going to start. So there's going to be like 2 to 3 days overlap between sieges and raid boss. I still don't know how I feel about that, honestly, because it, I don't know, it kind of keeps you from spending, enough gems to really get to the end of the rewards on each one. It's kind of hard to do both at the same time. Anyway, we have the new, this is the weapon here that I was talking about. It's right here in the event shop. We're going to go ahead and buy up to at least that. And then, I don't know, we can go upgrade the weapon, I guess, first. And yeah, there is a Godslayer. I guess this is right here. This is the Godslayer troop for the boss. It deals damage to an enemy. If they're a boss, deal 3 to 5 times the damage based on my ascensions. And then it gains life and armor. If the enemy dies, double the effect. Traits, obviously it's a Godslayer ability at the 3rd trait. Does extra skull damage to bosses. So that's a troop that we can use in this team if we need to. Staff of the Other Worlds. Probably should go upgrade that. We can check that out. I did throw in a few quick troops here, but we'll go in and check out this weapon first. It's a staff, right? I think. Yeah, there it is. Staff of Other Worlds. Upgrade weapon. And let's see. So it does eliminate 2 skill points. 10% chance to summon a Quasit. Scatter damage. Gain 4 mana. So it gains 4 mana. That's not horrible. It would be nice. I like the weapons that enchant themselves. So. But. I don't know. Maybe we'll use that weapon. Maybe we won't. I don't know yet. But for troops, we are limited to the Karakoth Kingdom, which there isn't really a whole lot of great troops for this kingdom, honestly. It's pretty lacking in good damage troops. The only legendary that's like really does a lot of damage to all enemies here is this one, Medea. Deals 28 damage to all enemies and enchant all allied demons and barrier all mystic allies. So enchant all demons. So if we're using other demon troops, then they will all get enchanted when it gets cast. So that's probably the better legendary troop. Aberoth it's not really that great, and really it's really only good when you have a storm running, in my opinion. And Vashdagon, as we've already talked about, is not super great. I have him in here right now, but we'll probably end up doing a much different team later. But as you can see in here, there really isn't any amazing damage troops. So if you do want a damage all, if you don't have Medea, your only choice to do damage to all enemies is with a weapon. That's probably where the most diversity is going to come from this week in this event, is from your weapon. Most people probably don't have Vashdagon either, and but the Godslayer troop here is something we can use. As for mana generators, Wall of Tentacles is pretty good. It gives 5 mana to all other allies and 2 magic. Green Slime is also good. It creates 5 green gems, and then it turns all green gems to purple. So that's a good mana generator. And then, of course, we have the Netherhound, which is the new troop, which creates 8 to 12 purple gems. So the theme this event is purple gems, it looks like, for... yeah, that's pretty much... And Dark Troll also is a mana generator. Doubles the number of purple on the board. So those are pretty much your mana generators. You have Wall of Tentacles, Dark Troll, Green Slime, and then the new Netherhound troop down here. Those are all pretty much your mana generators, unless you want to use a weapon like Mountain Crusher like I have here. So I'm just going to blast through some of these early ones with this team. But like I said, you probably want to... If you don't have Medea, then your best damage is going to be coming from your weapon. Right now, these enemies are so weak that it doesn't really matter what weapon you use. If it's a damage all type, it's going to destroy all of them most likely in 1 or 2 hits. So yeah, this is I don't even really need the other troops. I have Vash Dagon in there, Wall of Tentacles, but with all the potions of Enchant and Explosion, all you need. So for example, let's just throw these out of here. Let's just go with a weapon, and now you could use one of these Doom weapons, but most of you guys probably don't have too many of those yet. But you could use any one of these Doom weapons. It does damage to all enemies and converts. But you could also use any of these class weapons as well, like Creeping Death deals damage to all enemies. You have this one here, Dancing Daggers, does damage to all enemies. If you do have Dawnbringer, you could use that as well. Fiendfire is another option. And Orb of Winter down here, which is a class weapon for the Frost Mage class. That deals damage to all enemies, 33 damage. And of course, these other weapons like Essence of Evil weapons like that are going to be okay too. You're just not going to do as much damage with them. But yeah, and then if you go down, you can also use something like Black Manacles, for example. And everybody has Black Manacles because you get that free in your when you're doing your quests or upgrading your masteries. But yeah, we're not even to the raid boss yet, so essentially, you could just do Black Manacles like that, and we could throw in Dark Troll, we could throw in Green Slime, and yeah, everything else is probably gonna... We'll put the Godslayer in there. So, for example, this right here... This is like a cheap little budget team. No legendaries or mythics involved in this team right here. Got your my Black Manacles is probably going to just destroy everything. See, 35 damage to all enemies. Didn't even need to cast anything else, but Dark Troll's there and Green Slime is there for generating the purple mana. Green Slime is actually really good for a mana generator for that purple color. And yeah, so Dark Troll here can generate that purple mana. There wasn't too much available there, but once we get up to the point where there's an actual raid boss in there, then we want to switch over probably to Mang or Trickster's Shot. Or you could use something like Earth's Fury with the Godslayer troop. I mean, it all depends on what you have available to work with. But let's see, we got like 5 or 6 more battles to go until we get to the raid boss. Let me just blast through these battles really quick so we can get to the raid boss, and then we can put together a team with Mang or Trickster Shot or something like that. I just got trying to give you guys a few ideas of like teams and troops and weapons that you could use. Yeah, I like Black Manacles. It does have that devour chance too of 20%. Which is not going to devour a raid boss. Unfortunately, raid bosses cannot be devoured, even if they're cursed. Which is kind of unfortunate. I wish that you could devour them if they were cursed. Because that's the funny thing about that is that I'm pretty sure that I have devoured Zul'Goth in PvP after I've cursed it. But in the actual raid boss event, I've tried cursing it and devouring it, and it doesn't work. So I don't know what the difference is between the Zul'Goth or Zul'Goth, however you say this guy's name, Zul. There's some difference between him as an actual as an actual boss here in the raid event, and him as just a regular troop that a person has. Let me use my green slime. Alright, now we're up to the raid boss. Here we go. So, I'm pretty sure that this team isn't going to work as good because we want to target the raid boss. But this Godslayer troop here is what's going to do the most damage to him. So, as for our weapon, we could go and use Mang. And Dark Troll's mana is blocked by it, so that's not great. Let's see if we have a different troop we can put in there besides Dark Troll. We definitely want the Godslayer. We also need our green slime in there. There really just is not that great of troops in this kingdom. Well, I guess I'll just pop the Wall of Tentacles in there for now. But its mana is blocked by everything, so. But yeah, we don't really. Okay, is this? Okay, yeah, that's not that great. Yeah, I didn't even level this troop up. I should do that. And we'll fully trade it too. Alright, so at least we got that troop in there. That's useless. Yeah, there really just is not that great of troops, this kingdom. So, the whole strategy here would be to use Mang on the boss first. And then we can hit it with something else like the Godslayer once that gets up. So now my Godslayer is up. We'll hit the boss. There we go. And then, but see, the thing at this point is now it's going to be really long and tedious to destroy these guys up here. And they're going to get really powerful later on. So that's, it's going to be a little crazy. And of course, it's one of those troops that's going to give itself barrier and submerge itself and all that crap. Wonderful. So, yeah, this is probably not that good of a team. Let's see here. We need more damage. Wall of Tentacles. Medea would definitely be the way to do damage to all enemies. We have Mang in there, but the better weapon probably is going to be Trickster's Shot. But then it's blocking the mana to the Godslayer and all of this. So it might actually be better to put the Godslayer up at the top and do something like this. But we don't have good troops for this raid boss event. This is going to be a weird one. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Trickster Shot will hit the raid boss, and at least then it enchants itself, and it's adding magic damage there. We can hit it with that troop. And then once Medea down here is up, we can use that damage all to hit the troops over here. we'll use our green slime to generate all that purple mana and do something like that. So yeah, I don't know. I'll probably go with this team here for a while. I got my Godslayer up here at the top, and then Trickster Shot, Green Slime, and Medea down at the bottom. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't really seen any great troops and combinations for this event. So that's pretty much all I got for this video, guys. So hopefully you got something out of it and learned something, or was at least entertained at some point. So thanks guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Later.